Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner. In today's video, I'm going to do a step by step tutorial on the Coptic stitch binding. I am making another 6-fold journal using Medieval Mirage's medieval garden kit. And I'm going to show you real quick how this journal works because I've sewed part of the signatures, but I'm going to go through the other signatures with you on camera so I can teach you. So the journal is actually 6 journals in one. There are 2 larger ones and then 4 smaller ones. And I believe in my last video, I told you what those sizes were. And I'm just going to my page, my notes here. The bigger journals, these 2 here, are 5.5 inches tall, and when they're folded, they're 3 3/4. These 4 smaller ones are 3 3/4 in height and 2 3/4 in width. It is complicated, but yet simple. Let me show you the premise. So this signature or journal, basically, this journal is completed and it is sewn. So it will open up that way. Then the next journal will go on top of it. And once I sew it, it will go this way. So once again, one journal opens up this way. Then when you reach the end, it opens up this way. Then, once they are attached, you take one of the smaller journals and attach it there. And then you take the other small journal and you attach it there. So then these 2 journals open up that way. And once they're all attached, you'll figure out how they go. And then what you will do is flip the journal over and let's see, so number 4 is this way and number 3 is this way. And the reason I am contemplating that is because the first time I made this 6-fold journal, my sewn parts were this way. And what I found is as I was trying to open them up, they kept, pushing on each other. And so it was more difficult as to where this way, when you open them up, you've got your sewn part here and they don't impede each other. So that's the journal. That's what it's going to look like. And it's a fun journal to make. I love it. So let's get started on sewing this. And let me show you the Coptic stitch. And I encourage you to try to make one of these journals. They're a lot of fun. What helps is what I've done here is putting the sticky notes so that you can keep track of each of the journals. Now, for this journal here, the second one, like I said, it is going to open up this way. So you have to be mindful of what you want, like on the inside cover. I liked this page better than this page. And remember, these small journals are going to be attached there, so you're not going to see that page. So I liked that one better there. And the same thing over here. I liked this image better than this image because, again, the other two journals are going to go there. So then I have to think about which side I'm going to sew. So this opens up like that. Then this one will be attached on here. So what I need to make sure is that the pages open up the opposite way, this way. Do you see how that is? And so I need to make sure that my holes are here. So I'm going to pull that up and set this down. And I've organized all these pages in the way I want them to be in the journal. So let's poke our holes in the journal first. Now what I'm going to do is set this top page up and over. I like this image, so I want that on the inside cover. And then I'm going to bring in my tool for making holes. And I'm going to start with each signature. I've already measured here. And on the larger journal, I'm going to do the holes all the way to the end of the page. So I'm going to butt up my pages here, lay in this triangle part in the cradle, and then poke my holes. And I'm doing every single one of these holes. That's another thing that I found out as I was creating this one. Previously, I think I had only done 4 holes, and the journal pages were a little wobbly. So more holes, the more stable it is. The other thing is I found is the way I knot the ends of it are different than what other tutorials I have seen. Once again, this time around, I was able to make it more stable by tying a knot at the end. And when I get there, I will show you that part. So as I poke all these holes, I will put this part on fast forward. I'm going to set that over to the side because this is then now our top cover. So now as I look at my signatures in between the front and back cover, you can see they're lined up. So now I need to poke holes in the cover. And what I do is I just slide that off. I have the one signature there, and I just lay it down making sure that they're even on the bottom and the top. But I do leave a little bit of an edge here because with the Coptic stitch, the front cover is not folded over like your signatures. So what you do is I'm just going to come in. You can either use a pencil and mark it, but I don't feel like I have to. I feel like I can just poke the hole without having to mark it. Now, once again, my cradle won't work. The cradle won't work for this because it doesn't go down into the cradle itself. So like I said, I line both up, and I kind of am the saying, measure twice, cut once. So I double check all the time to make sure I have it the right way. And then I just kind of come down at eye level and I see where the holes are on the signature, and I poke them into the front cover. I believe there are 8 holes. So then now I have poked holes into that. I can set it off to the side. I think it goes like that. And then I can come in and make the holes a little bit bigger so I can actually see them. And it's pretty accurate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So that is the, did I get that wrong? Now I have to look because I wanted this on the inside. And there's my holes. I think I have to switch this around. So that's like that, that's like that, that's fine. Okay, and then where did my other big cover go? Is it underneath there? Maybe it's still underneath here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so then now I need to poke holes in the top cover. And then again, like I said, I constantly look to make sure I have it correct. I definitely want that on the inside to be able to see it, because this side is going to be covered with those small journals. And I've got my holes there. Keep flipping our pages. That's how it's going to go. So I need to have holes along here. And what I actually can do is just take this one here, hold it over this one, bring it together, make sure I've got it good, and just poke the holes while holding the two together. You could, if you wanted to, put some clips on it, but because this is such a small journal, I can do it by just holding it. Oh gosh, I may have gotten that off. No, I think we're good. It looks okay. Okay. And so once again, I want that on the inside, and then this is going to be the outside. So those are my pages there. I've got my big thick outside cover, and I've got these upside down. See, this is why I constantly re-look and make sure that I have it in the correct orientation. Somehow I had flipped those around. You basically do it one time and then you remember, you know, I'm not doing that again. I'm not sewing that whole journal in and then having to redo it. So a second time is a charm. Just making sure I've got my holes. That's where I'm going to sew. That's the right side up. Right side up. Yes. We're doing good there. Same thing here. And then our last page. And I see I may be coming in here and trimming that a little bit. It looks like it sticks out a little bit. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do that right now. It'll be easier now than after everything is sewn in. At least I think. We'll see. I think that's a little bit better. And then that one's like that. That's my back cover. And then, so that's the back of the journal. What you're going to need is 8 lengths of thread for this many signatures. Is what I found. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the reason I kind of go extra is because there'd be nothing worse, because this is a continuous stitch. There would be nothing worse than sewing this and then all of a sudden you've run out of thread. Now what I have found is a curved needle works best. So I just thread my needle. And you're going to start with the back cover and the back signature. So I'm going to start with the back one and then this next one. And you put those two together. So I'm going to push the other ones out of the way. Okay, you have, again, your hard back cover and then your last signature. And what you do is you go in through that top hole. Let me get this cradle out of the way. It's in my way. That I'm going to just kind of push stuff out of the way, because as you sew, you want things out of the way. So I've taken my needle in through and I've gone through the top hole. And I'm going to go really slow, because my hope is that you guys will be making this journal at the same time. And as I do each thing, you will follow along and do the same thing. So I've run my thread. This is wax thread. I decided to do a green color because it being botanical journal. So then what you're going to do is bring those two together, and you're going to run your needle in between that cover and that back signature. And I promise you, it gets easier. This first signature is always really difficult. Okay, so they're semi-attached. And like I said, in previous tutorials, what people had recommended was to tie a double knot here. But I found that if you didn't, and you knotted it after the fact, it would be tighter. I'm going to just pull that a little bit more. Okay, so we have that part there. We have gone around the cover here, and I'm going to pull it a little bit tight, just enough to where it is not loose. And you're going to take your needle. You see how the thread is there? Now I'm going to take my thread in between the two and pull it, and that's going to create a loop to hold those two together. And then what you do is you go in through that first hole back to the front. And you see, I didn't catch it here, so I have to open this page up and bring it through. And sometimes you can feel it with your needle and hopefully not poke yourself. And so now we're bringing it back into the center. And then here is where you tie a knot, but I see that I've split my thread. But because I don't have a knot in it, it's not a huge deal. I just have to put my needle between those two and bring this smaller one through. But it's not, it's okay. So I'm in a hot mess here, but this is good because you guys can see this is again a lesson. I went through the thread. So I find the easiest thing to do is just unthread your needle. And then pull it through to bring that out of being in between. I split my thread. You can see that? So I just need to bring this through so it's not split any longer. Okay, so it's not. And then rethread my needle. And sometimes I have to take my fingernail and run it so that it is flat to go through this needle. Okay, so now we have that. And if you look here, this is a little bit loose. But if I ever so gently kind of pull on it, it will tighten up. So you can see it got a little bit tighter. That's what I mean by this being a better way than doing the double knot first. It's better to do the double knot after you've made that first stitch. And so then I just tie it twice. And then snip off the end, the tail there. And then your next step will be to go down into the next hole. And there it is. So you're going through the whole of the signature. You're not going through the cover yet. So you're just going to bring that through. Okay. And you're going to bring it to where it is flat, not real tight. If you pull too much, you're going to rip your paper. You're just going to pull it to where it is a little taut, and then you're going to go through the back and bring your needle in between the back cover and the signature. And that's why a curved needle works best. You put it in and then you curve it in. And like I said, it's very fiddly right here, but it gets easier. It's just this first one, bringing them together. So then I line them up. I bring my thread through and pull on it. And then a lot of times, because I've got all the time in the world, I am in no hurry. I open it up and make sure that it's pulled enough there, and it is. And so then now what you do is the thread is over here to the left. You are going to loop it through. And that causes that loop right there. And again, you're going to pull it, but not so tight that it rips your paper. And then remember, you're in between the front cover and that signature. So now you're going to go down through the hole, the previous hole of the signature. And you just kind of take your time and make sure that you're in the right spot. And so now we've got our thread back on the inside. We're going to go to the next stitch, the next hole. So I just run my needle down until I can kind of fill the hole. I turn it over to make sure I've got it in the right spot. And I start pulling it through. And I just take my time. And this is not tight, but because we do so many stitches, the journal will be tight. It will be fine. So once again, I pull it through that hole. I go through the back cover. You see how I did that? I come back up through the cover, in between the two. Make sure it is fairly tight, and I'm going to loop it around. Loop it around and pull that up. You see? And now we're going to go back through the hole to get the thread to the inside cover. It's just a very repetitive stitch. Next hole, down. So I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you're making this journal. I hope that I'm helping you. I've been busy trying to get things ready for my retreat. Okay, so see, I've come out of the hole, and now I'm going to go back through the back cover. And sometimes you just got to kind of bring it apart so you can actually bring that needle through, and then you're going to tighten it up. Yeah, I've been busy getting things ready for the retreat. My sister was not going to come, and now she is coming, so I'm very excited about that. You're going to loop it around. And there is a little bit of a process for the last signature. So don't think, oh, she's just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. No, the very last signature is a little finicky. So stay tuned with me. And I have to show you how to add the next signature too. So this may be a long video, but I wish I had had a video like this to learn from. Okay, good. Because I learned a lot of it through trial and error. Is that the next one? Oh no, it's down there. Yeah, I had to learn through trial and error on a lot of this stuff. So I'm hoping that this is going to help you guys so you don't have to make a couple of mistakes. Do you see how it's going a little bit easier the further I go? And pretty soon it's going to go even faster. I just poked myself right there. My housekeepers just left, so my house is nice and clean. And so I just have to make dinner. Loop it around. I had already baked some chicken. I'm going to make a pasta salad that my chef husband used to make. And you guys, as I tell you the ingredients, you're going to think, well, that's weird. And I thought it the first time he made it and I ate it, but it is delicious. So it's that bow tie pasta. And then cut up chicken. And then sections of orange, lemon, and limes, and fresh basil, olive oil. What else is in there? It's a really summery, light pasta salad. What else is in there? The fresh basil, olive oil, that's the dressing. Then the citrus, chicken, and pasta. Yeah, salt and pepper. It's yummy. So fresh when it's hot outside. There was another time when, and I should have learned after a while, don't argue with a classically trained chef from France, okay, a Frenchman, on cooking, because especially somebody from the old school ways, because I'll tell you a story. One time we were making, he was making strawberries, and he was going to cook the strawberries and put lavender in it. I go, no, don't do that. You're going to ruin it. And he was like, trust me, I'm not going to ruin it. I'm not ruining the strawberries. Oh, that sounds terrible. Crabby me. And he's, once again, just trust me. I think I split that, but I think we're going to be okay. And it was delicious. I think he served it over ice cream or something like that. Of course, homemade ice cream, But that lavender, oh my gosh, it was just the way he did it. He was an incredible chef. Just brilliant, a brilliant man. Yeah, he started working in a kitchen when he was 14 years old. He quit school. His dad was abusive. And he quit school and moved away. And he was only 14 years old. Outside of Lyon, France. Small village though, but he asked the guy if he could work there. He was 14. And the guy said, yeah. And he basically started, at the bottom, dishes and stuff like that. And gosh, he's mid-70s and still works. I think he's part-time now, but yeah. And he as he, moved up and moved around France, before he left France, he was working in the 3 Michelin star restaurants on the Riviera. I mean, some really high-end restaurants. And then there was a French restaurant in Germany, and he applied to go there because he, liked to travel. So he went to Germany, worked there for a while, learned German. Of course, he knew French. He knew Italian. He knew Forlone because he was born and raised in a small village outside of Venice in Italy, and they have their own dialect there. And so then he was in Germany, and then these are the back in the days when you actually had job ads in the newspaper. And he saw an ad in the newspaper for a French restaurant in the United States. It was outside of Chicago. It was known as the best restaurant in the United States back then. Jean Bouchon was the name of the chef. And so my husband called the United States. Of course, they were speaking French. And he says, where all of you worked, and my husband told him, I've worked here, 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 here. And the guy goes, I'll send you a plane ticket. You want to come to the United States and work? Never had met him. He picked him up in a Rolls Royce. This is how this chef was, how well known this restaurant was. This was back in the 80s. Picks him up in a Rolls Royce outside of Minneapolis. Did I say Chicago? It was outside of Minneapolis. And in the dead of winter. Okay, so now we're at the end. Okay, now we need to bring in another signature. So I'm just going to grab, I'm going to take one. And what you do is you go in through the two. And maybe I didn't make my hole big enough in that one. Let me just kind of, sometimes you got to finagle it a little bit. So then I'm going to bring it through. And for this one, you just leave that like that, okay? Because you're going to go through to the next hole, and then that's how you're going to make it tighter. Okay, so we've got our two. Do you see how had I not opened that up and saw that loop there, it wouldn't have been tight enough. So just again, take your time, pull, look, see where you're at, bunch them together. And I've got that like that. And then we're going to go around through that back cover. And that first signature, and that loops these three signatures together. And then if you kind of pull on it, then you're going to go back through this hole here. Oh, okay. And bring it up. And then to the next one. So yeah, so that was my kids' dad. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know if I should, I'm gonna go up toward here. I'm gonna stop the camera, go up toward here, and then I'll stop again and show you guys. I've gotten to the top up here, and as I loop it around, one thing that I also have learned, that instead of like through here, just going back through the hole there, right there, instead I loop one more time, and it just makes that a little bit tighter. So I just bring it in as a knot, and it just makes it, like I said, a little bit tighter. So then now we're going to bring in the next set, and I just want to make sure I'm good to go, which I am. I had moved, and I went ahead and while that was uploading, I made the pasta salad, and it is so yummy. So now you go through the top hole of the next signature, and then down through the next hole. Those are kind of lining up. Oops, sorry. I know I was out of frame. I'm going to make sure it's a little bit tight. So I'm going to pull it, hold it together, hold those together, and then I know I've gone from right to left and sometimes left to right. I don't think it matters that much. Maybe it does a little bit, but once you add all your other elements to your journal, because sometimes I have added lace there. If I didn't feel like my stitching was that nice, then I've added lace. So then now you just go down to the next one. I'm going to continue with stories. And it's another story about my French husband. So I think I might back out a little bit. So, like I said, he landed in the dead of winter in the Midwest. And he didn't know a word of English. He didn't know English yet. And because he spoke Italian, he could also speak Spanish because they're pretty similar. And so he lands in the dead of winter. And the very next morning, the guy had set him up in a hotel while he was waiting to get his apartment and stuff like that. He goes to a little cafe and to get a cup of coffee. And back in the early 80s, France did not have artificial sweeteners. It was just, they were purist. It was sugar. They didn't have artificial sweeteners. So my husband orders coffee, and of course, he can't speak any English, so he doesn't know how to ask for sugar. But on the table, there's some pink packs and blue packs and white packs of what look like sugar. He grabs one of the pink packs and he sees that it's white. And so he thinks, okay, well, I'm going to put some of this in my coffee. It still makes me laugh when I think of it. So he stirs it in his coffee, this packet of what he thinks is sugar. And he tastes the coffee and he says to himself, oh la la, they got no sugar in America. Oh my gosh, oh la la, oh, that terrible sugar here. Oh my goodness. And then after he gets to the restaurant, he says to the chef, he says, oh my gosh, what is up with this American sugar? Oh, it's horrible. The chef says to him, oh, did you get one of those blue or pink packets? He goes, yes. Oh, yeah. He goes, that's not sugar. You got to get a white packet. I'm sorry, I got the giggles over that. Oh, there were so many funny things, funny stories living with him. Great stories. He did learn English, you know. He learned English by watching TV. He watched sports. He loved American football. And he learned English by watching TV. And just, I don't know. His English is not perfect because he didn't go to school. He's a citizen. He became a citizen. Yeah, he loves them. He loves the United States. Gosh, he's lived here longer here in the United States than he ever did in France. And he loves the United States. Yeah, he became a citizen. So, yeah. Adriano is his name. And then, like I said, he was born in Italy, but when he was it 4 years of age, they moved to France because France, this was after World War II, not far after World War II. France was a little better off economically than Italy was. So they moved to France, and so then they changed his name because they used to call him Macaroni Head or Macaroni something or another. And so instead of Adriano, they changed his name to Adrian. So it was more French. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my stories. I'm going to continue sewing the rest of these signatures, but I will come back when we go to do the very last signature, or it's actually would be the first signature and the front cover. So now I want to show you how to add the first signature and the cover. What you do is you take both of them and you lay them on top of what you've been working on. And you're going to take your needle through the top of the cover. Now, that first signature there is just laying there, but we will attach it. So we're going to pull our needle through. Okay, so it is looped through the top, and I'm going to just line those up. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your needle through the last signature you did, and you're going to loop it to kind of anchor that. But remember, this signature that is actually the first signature is not sewn in yet. So what you have to do is take your needle, and I have found that even just moving it a little bit so you can actually see it. Take your needle. I need to take off my glasses so I can actually see a little bit better. Take your needle and put it through that first hole of that signature. So I'm going to pull it, try to make that a little bit tighter there. But still try not to rip my paper. The first and the last signature are the hardest, definitely. So now we're going to go through the second hole. I have not gone through the cover yet. Okay, so I've gone through that second hole. Let me just look. Yeah, there it is. Okay, and so then now I am able to go around the cover. Pull that around there. And then we're going to loop it. Through the previous signature. You're going to see, so we looped there, and now we're looping there, okay? And then we're going to go back through that second hole. and then the next one. It's just that one little first part that is so difficult. Okay, we're going to pull that through. I'm going to make sure that that's tight. Fiona, and pull that through and then wrap it around. Okay, go through the cover. Okay, and then if I bring it up, hold it together, then I can see I've got to go underneath this section to loop it. Okay, so now that is looped, and then I can go back through that hole of the first signature. And it's basically the same thing, but I will show you how we tie it off at the end. It definitely does get easier as you get further along. Come on. See, I'm starting to get in a rush, and that's causing me problems. So I just need to slow down. Okay, we're pulling that through. And then we're going to loop. I think you can go either way. It's hard to look and see what you're doing, plus look in the camera. So my apologies if I've gone off screen. And now I'm going to go back into the hole of the first signature. Until I get to the very last hole, I'm going to put the video on fast forward for you guys. So this is what I do to tie it off. It's pretty simple. As I bring that in, okay, I think we're pretty good. I just wrap it around and I knot it. And I do that twice. And I want my knot toward the bottom there. And then if you want to, you can just snip off the waxed thread and you can put a dangle there. So I will off camera sew the last small journal and I'll be back with you guys. So here are our 6 journals ready to go. I'm going to end this video. In the next video, I'm going to show you how we put it all together and we will start decorating the outside covers and also start putting in some pockets and tuck spots and some ephemera. Thank you so much for joining me today. I truly hope this helped you, and I will see you guys again soon. Thanks and bye-bye.